Welcome to Tech Trends.
Thank you very much.
How would you rate the quality of service that Nigerians are enjoying today?
Quality of service has been an issue. And of course, this is what had led to the establishment of key performance indicators by the NCC, where we had such set benchmarks for a number of indicators. And of course, we wouldn't say that we are there, as it is today. But of course, it's a work in progress. Now, because you have a window, within which you have what you probably call an acceptable service. And then also you have a line below which service should not be permitted to go below. So we are within that range. And of course, it keeps improving. As we have more infrastructure in place, as we have more base stations rolled out, as we have more infrastructure such as fiber optic cables laid across the country, we begin to see a significant improvement in terms of the quality. Telecoms operates within an ecosystem. There are a number of factors that feed into it that actually determines the kind of the outcome or output we get. Things such as power, for instance. Power is a major contributor to issue of quality of service. Now, for instance, that power is a challenge you have in developing countries. It's not a problem of developed countries. So really, technologies, hybrid technologies that address power issues are just beginning to come. Solutions are just beginning to come now because the equipment manufacturers needed to see there was a business case, whether they'll have enough market for their solutions. So when they now saw that, because in most African countries, the issue of power is still a major problem. So they identified that there are actually a market for that. And so you're now beginning to see hybrid solutions coming in, which the service providers are beginning to deploy in the base stations. Because basically, if you are running a generator, or if you are on electricity and generator, once the power goes off, if there are calls going on within the place, if you don't have a UPS that will kind of bridge that gap, calls will drop. All right?
So that's what leads to the majority of the job calls.
A lot of drop calls actually, a number of them actually has to do with, ability to have the base station covering your area being up and running. Now, another challenge actually also is that most of the phones in Nigeria, 98% are mobile. Unlike in other climes where you have fixed. In the offices, people use the fixed phones. At home, people use the fixed lines, right? Now, so mobile is really mobile when people are out of the home, all right? For the man on the go. But here, the mobile is office, the mobile is home, so that puts a lot of pressure on the network. So 24/7, the network is busy. So you find out that the infrastructure really is challenged in terms of the capacity to cope with the volumes of traffic that is going on. So what the Commission is doing, and what we have done is, one, we have encouraged the networks to ensure that there is investment, enough investment that is made in terms of infrastructure deployment. And then secondly, the Commission has identified the need to license infrastructure companies. Now, these companies basically will just provide infrastructure, backbone infrastructure, transmission infrastructure for the networks.
Is that what we call the infracos?
Infracos. That infraco means infrastructure companies. Infracos. Now, two have been licensed. One for Lagos and then one for North Central, which takes care of Abuja. Now, other 5 will be licensed maybe sometime next year.
Why do you think the network providers are not collaborating with each other?
Well, we had that challenge initially when the operators were seeing themselves as competitors. And then everyone wanted to build their own infrastructure. But of course, when we began to have the average revenue per user, thing now, then people now began to see that they had to cut down on cost. So you even have networks, wanting to share infrastructure, amongst themselves. And then again, we have in our license categories the co-location service provider license. And that is why you have companies like the IHS, you have Helios Tower, and all of these. Now, those are people who basically, what they do is build out towers and base stations, and then also provide, kind of integrated services, security, power, and all of that. So what the network does is just they go there and they just put their equipment in the place. And then they don't have to bother about whether there is diesel or not. They sign agreement, MOUs with those infrastructure companies, to provide a service on 24/7 basis with minimal downtime. Now, there is this World Bank report, that indicates that for every 10% increase in broadband penetration, there is a corresponding 1.38% increase in GDP. And then also for internet penetration, for every 10% rise in internet penetration, there is a corresponding 1.31% increase in GDP. So that in itself means that if the states open up to infrastructure, and also you have a very friendly tax regime in those states, you can actually increase the GDP of the states. How can you do that? Because one, the hotels, the businesses there will all have access to the internet. So even the rural to urban drift, that you experience, you find out that people look, because this day, the world is a global village. You can actually run your business from anywhere. So you don't have to maybe go to Lagos or Port Harcourt or come to Abuja, really. If you have infrastructure, internet and broadband in the States.
Recently, the Commission reduced the data floor pricing. Why did that happen?
It's to increase competition in the marketplace in terms of data, because really, we have got a lot of complaints in terms of people saying that the cost of data is very expensive. So what you have done is open up the space and let there be competition. And that's why you're seeing today that the cost is beginning to come down significantly. In terms of, you're seeing all kinds of packages, that are being offered by the service provider. All kinds of offerings are coming there now in terms of the bouquet of services that are available, where you can choose the kind of, whether it's 1 gig or 2 or 5 or 10, and then the costs are relatively lower. But of course, it's even going to get better. The moment, for instance, we have some of these bottlenecks removed, and we have infrastructure, pervasively, rolled out in, nationwide, we're going to have, it's going to be a very interesting time.
Nigeria has close to 100 million internet users. Does the Commission have an insight into what these users are doing on the internet?
Worldwide, internet still remains largely unregulated. There is no, internet is not regulated as it is today. Well, there are arguments for and against. Some people have said, look, if you try to regulate it, you stifle creativity and innovation. That there are a lot of innovations that go, and a lot of things are still in trial stages. A lot of innovations and creativities that are coming. For instance, some years back, you couldn't make a voice call unless maybe on the phone. But today you have what they call disruptive technologies, where you can make calls on WhatsApp.
Yes, actually I was going there.
Well, you see, that is good for the consumer. It is actually the operator.
For the operator?
That's what it's the operator that is complaining. That's why they're calling it disruptive technology, because really it's affecting operations. But you see, that's the way technology is. Technology is like a man that starts a fire, and you don't know how far it can go. That's the way it is, really. You start a fire. This is where the fire started, but of course you can't really tell how far that fire will go, the direction it's going to go. That's the way technology is, really. So we're all enjoying it.
Finally, what ways can SMEs plug into this whole ICT ecosystem? Because sometimes when they hear the word NCC, they think it's only for telecoms, the big businesses. But are there opportunities for small business owners as well?
It's about value. It's about looking at the market and seeing where there is need and plugging into it. Because basically business is about meeting needs. So the SMEs will have to look at, the environment and see, the kind of needs that you have, and niche areas that they can get into, and plug in there and begin to provide services. Now, so the SMEs probably have to identify value and then sell that value proposition to people and then get people buy into it. And that does it. And they're in business.
Tony, thank you so much for being on Tech Trends today.
Yeah, thank you for coming here today.
Welcome to our Tech Clinic segment. This question comes in from Ndidi via Facebook. She says, how do I make my phone battery last longer? Well, Ndidi, the first thing you need to do is to find out how healthy your battery is at the moment. If it's already weak, then you need a replacement. But assuming your battery is fine, then you can start by limiting background activities, which is the major drainer of your battery life. And also remove all unnecessary apps from your phone. Many of us, we have so many apps that we don't use. Finally, put off Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, GPS when not in use. I'm sure these tips will help you keep your battery life longer. This is where we draw the curtain on today's edition of the show. But as usual, the conversation continues online, so you should join us there. Remember, you can watch the entire show on the Channels TV YouTube account or via my blog, techsmart.ng. For Tech Trends, I am Chukwemeka Agbaho.